my name is Leanne Sherrod. I'm a speech-language pathologist and the president and chief clinical officer here at Expressible. Thank you for joining me to learn how to support your child in making the S sound. Today, let's discuss when children typically develop their S sound, as well as some tips to help you assess if your child's ready to begin practicing. Research has shown that most kids can correctly say the S sound by around 5 years old. I like to use the start of school as a rule of thumb. If your child is going into kindergarten and is having a hard time with their speech or their S sound in particular, it may be time to start working on these more challenging sounds. When kids start school, they're suddenly put into a much more social environment. They begin to develop relationships with teachers and peers. These new people may have a harder time understanding your child's speech than you do. After all, as caregivers, we have an intuitive connection with our children. Kids who struggle with their speech may suddenly become conscious or aware of these challenges. As you can imagine, this can hurt their confidence. Holding a meaningful conversation, socializing with peers, and speaking in public are life skills many children develop in the classroom. If they don't believe in their abilities, they may clam up, be held back in their social development, or struggle academically. In order to help children be confident communicators, it's best to give them the tools for success as soon as possible. One additional thing to note is that one particular type of error is never a part of typical speech sound development. That slushy S sound, known to speech-language pathologists as a lateral S. If your kiddo produces their S sound as it's a good idea to work with a speech therapist sooner rather than later. But how do you know when to begin? Let's talk a little about determining if your child is ready to start on the S sound. Before a child begins practicing and improving their S production, they first have to understand the difference between a correct and incorrect S sound. Speech therapists call this discrimination. To test this out with your child, model a correct S and ask your child if you said it right or wrong. Then say an incorrect S and ask them the same question. Can they tell the right sound from the wrong sound? There are a few ways to switch this up. You can simply make the S sound. You can use it in a word, soup or thoop. Or you could try dropping an incorrect word into a sentence and have your child identify it. Put on your thocks before we go. If your child can't tell the difference, spend some time focusing on this skill. It's essential that your child can discriminate between a correct and incorrect S before moving on. It may feel a little redundant to do these exercises over and over, but I promise it's worth the time and effort. Once your child can tell the difference, try some imitation exercises. Imitation is simply the act of providing a correct model for your child and seeing if they can repeat it back to you. Model the S sound for your child and have them imitate. It's completely okay if you need to give them a little help. Explain your tongue placement. Make sure to show your child that your tongue stays hidden behind your teeth and doesn't stick out. Once your child is able to correctly imitate an S sound from you, that's when you know it's time to start working on it. This sets the foundation for all future learning. It may take some time for your child to master this sound. If they're almost 5 years old and they're still having trouble with S, it's a good idea to work with a speech-language pathologist. They can help move your child towards being ready to practice. So let's go over a few of the key takeaways here. Most children can correctly say the S sound sometime during their 4th year and definitely by 5 years old. If your child is going into kindergarten and is struggling with certain sounds, it may be time to start working on their speech. Once school starts, clear communication is more important than ever. To be ready to start practicing S, kids have to understand the difference between a correct and incorrect S sound. They should also be able to imitate the S sound. Remember, if you're ever unsure about your child's development or you're concerned they're not showing progress, it's a good idea to talk with a speech-language pathologist. They can evaluate your child and recommend a personalized plan to get them on the path to clearer speech.